Hey guys, Alexander Williamson here with The Secret History Living Inside Your Aquarium. Today we're going to be talking about my high-tech tank, doing an update, talking about some of the plants that are in there. Maybe you'll learn something about some of the plants. And also we will just be talking about how the evolution of the tank has gone. Currently, right now, we have several guppies in the tank, as well as several endlers. This is from my Japanese blue endler mixed with blue grass endler combination that I've been working on now. So this is generation 3 here, this one, and generation 4 has been crossed back with that lyre tail that I was looking for, and so we're finally getting that trait back. Even though it has a web tail, it's starting to shape back. And so what I did was I saved the father of the other one, and I crossed it back with the females from the generation of these ones without the lyre tail. So that's just a little bit of info on the fish that are in there. The other fish that's in here right now is a Leopard Endler from the Tiger Endler line, but I've kind of turned them into Leopard Endlers from Lucas Brett's line. And then we have two nearite snails that are, they're the Filipino type, and they have a really beautiful pattern on them here. You can see just how beautiful that red is. They'll have yellow as they get older too, and they really show their patterns more. Now, moving right along, we have an pleco here. Sorry, I keep saying autosynclus in my head. We have a pleco. It's a calico pleco, so it was a super red and a brown pleco. Must have had a baby. It's very orange under the right light. And over here, the other one seems to kind of have its territory over here. You can see that even though Aquarium Zen set me up with a beautiful tank with this ADA style setup and the slimline mounted light, I still have a old-fashioned traditional hang off the back. It's a fairly quiet one, meant for about 25 gallons, 20 to 30 gallons, but I have it running, and this is a 17.5 gallon tank. A lot of the water is taken up by rock displacement. Now, the other helpers that we have in the tank currently are amono shrimp, and they're really beautiful. I want to thank Aquatic Arts again for their livestock. So the amono shrimp can be found at aquaticarts.com along with those snails, and the tank and supplies can be found at Aquariums and in Seattle. So just kind of thank you to the sponsors of this project. This is my first totally high-tech tank in the sense that the soil is actually ADA soil. The tank is a low iron tank, and the light is slimline, plus it has CO2 injection and liquid ferts of all sorts going in. So as you probably have seen off screen here, we have Flourish Iron by Seachem. We also have Easy Green all-in-one fertilizer. Now, it's good because it has, let's look at the label here, nitrogen, potassium, phosphate, manganese, magnesium, and trace elements. But I like to add a little bit of manganese and a little bit of salt and other things into the tank also. And so there are other fertilizing supplements that I've used and gathered and gotten from friends and things like that, especially before there were fish in the tank. I really pumped the fertilizer, and I was really doing a lot of water changes also, so it's kind of wasting a lot of fertilizer, but I think the results speak for themselves here. I think the tank has been shaping up really, really beautifully, for my taste anyways. So let's go through and kind of look at some of the elements. I know I've already dissected this tank for you guys if you want to look back from videos about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. We talk about the structure, and I use the golden ratio and the rule of thirds to kind of lay things out. And that's all in well, but to clean this tank a little bit, I've also been having to move the stones a little bit. And they're wedged by pressure. There's no glue or anchors or anything holding them. But they do grow moss very heavily, as that they are some of the higher points in the tank. And so the cleanup crew is very crucial. Those amono shrimp and plecos. There's 2 plecos, and right now there's 2 amono shrimp, but there's about to be a lot more. There's about to be 3 or 4 more in there for now, because it seems to be a never-ending race. Even earlier today, this stone was clean, and it grows back very quickly. So I would caution using stone like this. Now, we're still getting trace amounts of ammonia, but not enough that it's harming shrimp or fish at all. The ammonia is probably right around, I would say, and that's all coming from this fluval ADA light substrate. And I would say that we're getting probably 0.25 or half of that, just barely green tint to the water now. And I've been doing substantial water changes still. We're doing probably 60% water changes throughout the week, if not 100% throughout the week. Just now we've kind of tapered the schedule back to doing 20% every 2 days or 30% every 2 days, something along those lines. So let's talk a little bit about things going on in here growth-wise as a whole. So you can see that some of the plants have really taken to to the substrate. You can see the roots coming in, grabbing into that. They're able to penetrate this ADA aqua soil very well. So as opposed to using gravel or something else, they've been able in a short amount of time to put roots, inches down into the soil. I have plants like this lily here that was a cutting from the lily in the other tank that was huge. I love this plant, and it's growing very slow in this tank, but very, very healthy. So you can see the colors are really vivid. The purple is less vivid, interesting, but I think it's because it's young. And surprisingly, this is a dormant lily bulb of a red tiger lily that has just sprung to life, that happened to be on the root of another plant that I stuck in there from another tank. So I guess all the added fertilizer that happens in a high-tech tank and the the CO2 really helps. I was thinking nitrous because when you go to the dentist, they use the same tanks, similar tanks. So let's look a little deeper in here. We've got, first, when you look in the corners, we've got pogostemon erectus going on in the back here, and then we've got different types of limnophilia aromatica, and then we have brownii, pogostemon octopus plant. We have a red flame sword with ocelot cross back in the corner hiding over there. And then we have this super red temple plant. And so that's what I want to say. The other thing that I've done to this tank, since the rock really obstructs the flow of the tank, is I've ripped a little motor out of an old Fluval spec tank, and I've simply placed that pump motor in the corner as a power head. It's very quiet, and I've been able to hide the wires for the most part, but that brings the water in the tank up. Come on, focus. Up here it goes, and it catches gets sucked up the filter, comes out, which normally the flow was going to about here and then kind of dying out. So now this power head kind of helps push everything all the way back to here. The current gets slow and things start to kind of drift here, and then they start to fall, and then all of a sudden the undertow and the negative pressure in the water picks it up as a current. So right now the tank is actually really well balanced current wise, and we're not getting a buildup of things except for floating things, which right now these were just to help suck excess ammonia. We've got some water lettuce as well as a couple lily starts that I'm just kind of letting float to see if they'll catch up. In here we also have wisteria, bulbitis, we have pearlweed, and then we have right here, this is lucustra, or ludwigia ex lucustrus, and then we have ludwigia arculata, and various two other ludwigia plants which are escaping my mind right now, the exact name of them. Along with those, we have hydrocotyle, two species of that. That's the little four-leaf clover looking guys, and we've got the small size, and then we have the larger Japanese size. It's basically a miniature pennywort, and it kind of crawls, and my idea was to kind of have this trail of it, but some of these other plants are kind of overtaking it, and I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I don't know if I'm in love with the way that's unfolding. I've also put some crypts back in here, but they're also getting outcompeted fairly quickly by these other plants. Now, I must say that I will trim it, but right now I'm happy with things growing as fast as they want to grow because of the excess ammonia and fertilizer in the tank. That will just help stabilize and secure everything in the tank. Also, we have some peacock moss in between the cracks, as well as different types of hard Serwassertong, small types of it. Miniature Pelia, I believe is what it was sold as, but it hasn't really taken off at all. So we'll see what happens with the miniature Pelia, but it seems to not really want to do anything. Hopefully in the caves and canyons that are built in behind this, like where these plants are coming out of in here, where we've got more wisteria, hopefully that area is where shrimp will have a nest and things like that, so the smaller animals will feel safe there. So we've got that going on. As far as a theme throughout the tank, the hydrocotyle kind of comes all throughout here. And here is really just like water sprite, wisteria, and some mermaid plant here. I'm forgetting the name, mermaid something. Sorry, I know the nickname. It's like a sawtooth plant. And the name is totally escaping my mind. I'm so sorry. But it's doing super well in this tank. In my other tanks, it gets a lot leggier. In this tank, it stays very compact. So that's nice. We have a little bit of anubias tucked in here. We have bulbitis tucked in several places. Now, ideally, I'm kind of just growing the bulbitis to start onto a specific rock. Like this one, I want to start onto this rock, and I've kind of tied it on. And the hope there is that then I can move it to another tank because I want it immersed, ideally. I really like the look of the fern growing out of the tank. And believe it or not, this parsley-looking stuff, if you haven't seen it before, grows into these great fronds of ferns when it's outside of the tank. Moving on back here, the ludwigia ex lucustrus is showing off in all its glory. You can see here that it has some algae, but it's doing pretty well. It has a nice pink, peachy color. I don't know if that's showing off the best in the film. Let's try to bring it over the top. Maybe you can see it better that way. So it's kind of a bronze peachy yellow color that you see here, and this is the whole back row from on top. So I left myself a good amount of room. In back there you can see that there's more of the scarlet temple plant. This scarlet temple plant looks beautiful from above, so I'm really glad that anybody who comes into the house, you can stand over it and look into this, especially if I take it down to one light. I've got a Fluval Aqua skylight on it, and then I also have the Twin Star slimline type light on it. So moving on past that, we also have more of the mermaid plant, and then we have the there's some odd hornwort in here, also just sucking up nitrogen. So a lot of these things will be moved. And then also we have a few starts back there of a very rare plant, in that it's a type of pogostemon. I think it's Cyrillus, but it's a species from Afghanistan and India. In between those two areas it's found, and it's just not very commonly found. It's nothing spectacular to look at, but somebody had it in the club that had brought it back, and I just like to have it in there as something in my mind that's just kind of a fun little Easter egg in the tank. See if anybody can figure out what the heck it is. Also, we've got glossostigma that's growing straight up. So I did attempt the glosso carpet at one point in here, and the glosso has all just kind of grown straight up or into a tangle. It hasn't really worked out well. So I'm not forcing it. I think that this specific type of glosso that I got, it was just not working out super well. Because it's just growing tall. It doesn't send out any runners either. But that's okay. It still has some interesting character. And once I get in here and start really trimming everything, let it all grow in, then I'll trim it. And it'll probably be 2 or 3 trims, I would assume, before I can really say, like, yeah, that's the tank I want. That's the way it should be. Now, I've been running the temperature in this tank about 77 degrees, a little warm for a nature style tank. But other than that, everything else is running pretty normally. Normal filter floss in the back. I'm doing a bubble per minute of the CO2, and it's coming out of a diffuser that is on the lower end of the expense scale. This is a Fluval little teeny 45-gram diffuser, but it deals with actually more intense pressure than what's going through it right now. So it's actually handling it pretty well for a little $7 diffuser, but I don't like the aesthetic of it, so eventually I will get some sort of atomizer diffuser, something like that. And I would like to probably get rid of the hang off the back eventually. On this table, it seems kind of lame to put a canister. I suppose I could hide the canister somewhere over here and cut a hole in the back of the cabinet, but it just doesn't seem worth it, especially with the prospect of moving could be happening. So, yeah, I just wanted to give you a nice long tour of what I've done planted in this tank, and what I've done with it and what's going on. It's almost ready to have its real fish in it, I should say. These are kind of the canaries in the coal mine. They've been in there for weeks now. They're as happy as little clams. The plecos, the shrimp, everything is doing well. And so this tank is just gonna, for the sake of practicality, gonna need a cleanup crew. Is gonna be a lot of its inhabitants. But I'd like to get some celestial pearls and some danios and things like that in there. And then I haven't decided for sure on what the showstopper should be. I still do have a pleco that is a really, really beautiful starlight blue pleco. And it has like a dark grayish blue skin color, and then it has dots on it that are white, and then its tail and its fin fins have crests on them of bright electric blue. So I think that would look really cool in here. But looking at color palettes, let me know what you think. If you made it this far in the video, it's kind of a calm, subdued video. Not really about history, but I just wanted to update this tank thoroughly. And if you see something and you're curious, or you know something, please let me know. And I'd like to see what you guys think I should put in the tank. And remember, it does slope backwards and up several inches. I might put some more soil in there, and I may even do a path of some sort here, but right now the cleaning is so intense going on with the toothbrush and the gravel vac that's not something in the works yet. But with less of the ammonia and chemicals coming off of the substrate and more of the amono and neocaridina shrimp in here, I think we'll be golden and good to go. So thanks, guys. If you stuck around this long, please like, subscribe if you got here this long, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Right now this is even overgrown for the way I want it, but I do want it more filled in, so I want things to grow up straight and filled in better, and then we'll chop things down and bring the other starts downstairs, and we'll have some interesting, pretty plants upstairs. Now, I want to point this out just because it's happening, well, it was, the amono shrimp can also climb straight up the glass and clean the glass very well for you, whereas neocaridinas don't do that as much. So they're definitely bigger and go through more algae, clean small plants very well if you have an army of them, and they have very low bioloads. So great animal. I got those from aquaticarts.com, and they have some very pretty specimens there with some color and things to them. So alright, guys, if you made it this long, subscribe, like, thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel, see more tanks like this, I've got lots of crazy ideas for tanks. You can also visit my Patreon page, because as you know, these tanks are not cheap to run and they require a lot of time and labor. Definitely need to devote an hour a day to a tank like this, if not more, in the beginning. So, especially if you like rockscapes. So, alright, guys, I hope you're doing well. Take care, and I will talk to you later. Swim on.